What is up, guys? Randomodium here, and today we're going to be talking about Wardens. This video is a follow-up of my How to Find Your Ideal Playstyle class and subclass video, so if you haven't watched that one yet, I highly recommend it. This video will cover Galio, Poppy, and Shen, while part 2 will cover Braum, Nunu, and Tahm Kench. Also, I want to give a very special thank you to all of the Warden mains who helped me make this video. I left a link to all of their subreddits in the video description below. Wardens are the defensive tanks of League of Legends, sacrificing some damage and engage potential over their Vanguard brothers in exchange for powerful utility that they can use to buff or protect their allies. Like Vanguards, they are extremely difficult to kill, and they have tons of crowd control in their kit, so they can either use offensively to lock down enemies or defensively to peel for allies. In general, Wardens can be unique in 3 different ways: engage, utility, and damage. Today we'll be focusing on the Wardens that are more damage-oriented: Galio, Poppy, and Shen. Both Galio and Shen possess some utility in the form of their ultimates, and Shen also has some utility in his W. Poppy is all about CCing enemies, dealing sustained DPS, and slamming people into walls, though it could be argued that her W and her ultimate are kinds of forms of utility. I like to think of them more as crowd control, which is why I rate her lower on the utility scale. In part 2, we'll focus on the more utility-oriented Wardens, which are Braum, Nunu, and Tahm Kench. What's also very unique about Galio, Poppy, and Shen is that they're all walking contradictions. Galio is a giant who can only be brought to life by magic, but is designed specifically to slay mages. Poppy is on a quest to find a hero worthy of the hammer she wields, when she clearly is the hero that the hammer was meant for. And Shen is the least sneaky ninja you will ever meet. Because of their higher damage and decent wave clear, Galio, Poppy, and Shen are almost commonly played in top lane. Galio is also very frequently played in mid lane. Both Poppy and Shen are also occasionally seen in the support role, and Poppy is sometimes seen as a jungler. For the skill orders, runes, masteries, and item builds, I'm only showing the most popular builds in Platinum and above games. All of these champions have multiple options when it comes to runes, masteries, and items, so if you want a much more detailed analysis of when you should go a certain build, please check out each champion's subreddit.
They made me to stop magic, and yet I hate when it's gone.
Galio, the Colossus. Galio is the protector of Demacia, a stone monument towering over buildings who only comes to life in the presence of magic. Basically, think of him like a Statue of Liberty who actually comes to life to protect liberty. Since magic is forbidden in Demacia, though, this means that the only time the Galio comes alive is during a battle against enemy mages. Galio's life is a cruel irony for 2 reasons. The spells that bring him to life often bring death to hundreds that he wants to protect, and the mages who bring him to life are the ones who he is charged with destroying, ensuring that any life he is granted is short-lived. Thus, Galio is constantly torn when he is brought to life, knowing that his life is only temporary and often the result of many others dying. If only there were a mage in Demacia who could bring Galio to life without so much death and destruction. I definitely have a very special place in my heart for Galio. He's big, and he loves to brawl. I'm big, and I love to brawl. He seems like the perfect guy to go out and have some beers with. And while my head may be as hard as petricide, thankfully I have a bit more going on between my ears than Galio does.
My middle name is Justice. Galio, Justice, Justice.
Or at least I hope people think I do. Galio is kind of like a 100-foot-tall Kronk who enjoys fighting instead of making spinach puffs. Absolutely adorable, but you wouldn't want to get on his bad side.
Pentakill!
Galio is an extremely well-rounded warden capable of holding his own both in top lane and mid lane. His passive and his Q give him decent wave clear and damage, his W and E give him very good crowd control, and his ultimate is an extremely strong, long-range spell which allows him to protect his allies and enter a fight quickly. Galio relishes in combat, and is known for turning lost causes into resounding victories, granting his allies massive damage reduction along with amazing peel. In lane, Galio is all about wave clearing and waiting for ganks. While Galio is capable of dealing a decent amount of damage, the only way he has kill pressure in lane is if his opponent really messes up. And even if you are great at harassing your opponent and landing all of your abilities, the high mana cost of Galio's abilities usually limit how aggressive he can be in lane. Once Galio hits level 6 is where he really begins to shine. Galio's ability allows him to push lanes very quickly, allowing him to roam without missing CS or experience, while simultaneously pushing his opponent under tower, which prevents them from roaming. And what's even better is that Galio doesn't even have to roam very far in order to use his ultimate. This allows Galio to constantly duck out of vision and forces enemies to play much safer than they usually would or risk facing his powerful ultimate. This ability to constantly push and roam is great when paired with aggressive junglers or supports, since it allows them to invade into the enemy jungle without fear of collapse, and also allows you to set up for tower dives much easier. In the late game, Galio is all about peel, which is why he's considered more of a Warden than a Vanguard. Being great with Galio is all about peeling for your allies and forcing enemies to overextend into bad situations that you can turn to your advantage. Galio's damage reduction on his ultimate is invaluable for keeping allies alive, especially against high burst champions like assassins and burst mages. If Galio uses his full combo, he can provide peel in the form of crowd control for up to 3.5 seconds, all while dealing some decent damage himself, which makes him extremely valuable in those late game team fights. Galio's passive magic damage and the damage reduction on his W and his ultimate also scale with magic resist, so Galio is a perfect pick into a team with multiple magic users, especially AP assassins. If you're looking for a tank with a safe laning phase and an extremely impactful late game, then Galio may be the champion for you.
I'm in 100%. That's everything, right?
Poppy, Keeper of the Hammer. Poppy is a walking contradiction and one of the most subtly hilarious champions in the game. Poppy was gifted with a massive warhammer by her mentor when he was on his deathbed. He told Poppy that the weapon was prophesied to go to the hero of Demacia, a mighty warrior who could keep Demacia whole. After her mentor died, Poppy swore to find this hero, never stopping to think that she may be the hero that her mentor was talking about. Poppy is one of the smallest champions in the game, and yet she wields one of the biggest and heaviest weapons in the game, and is also one of the tankiest champions in the game. While most tanks are towering behemoths or powerful beasts, Poppy is just a 3-foot-tall yordle with a hammer. It's hard not to have a smile on your face when you're playing Poppy, thanks to her ironic playstyle and hilarious voice acting. Poppy is one of those champions who's easy to pick up, but hard to master. Her laning phase is pretty forgiving, and she has decent wave clear and damage. Poppy's passive is great for last hitting from a safe distance, and it's also a great way to get some sustain from Grasp of the Undying. A lot of Poppy's damage in laning phase relies on her hitting with both procs of her Q, so always try to angle her Q in a way that the enemy has to retreat through it. Her W is capable of shutting down most aggressive junglers in the game, which makes ganking a Poppy lane an absolute nightmare. And Poppy can even use her E on an enemy minion as a dash to either escape, avoid crowd control, or chase down a low health enemy. Even if you're able to catch a Poppy, it's extremely difficult to kill her, thanks to her W passive, Stubborn to a Fault, which gives Poppy up to 30% bonus armor and magic resist. That said, Poppy has a low range and low sustain, and it's very hard for her to hard stomp a lane or quickly take towers. Where Poppy really shines is teamfights. Poppy's W is one of the best peeling tools in the game for carries, and it absolutely shuts down most high mobility champions like Vanguards, Divers, Assassins, and Skirmishers. Timing this ability properly can be the difference between your carry dying in the first half a second of a team fight, or your team acing the enemy. What really defines a great Poppy, though, is their ultimate. Poppy's ultimate has so many amazing uses. Bad Poppies will use it at the wrong time and knock away key targets or knock away low health enemies, denying their team the kill. Great poppies can do amazing things like knock tanks away from squishy carries or knock a jungler out of Drake or Baron pit, allowing your team to steal the objective. I've even seen great Poppy players do amazing things like use their ultimate on a tank so the tank can't block crowd control or damaging abilities for a carry, since Poppy's ultimate makes those hit by it untargetable. The uses of Poppy's ultimate are limitless, so creative and effective use of Poppy's ultimate is really what separates the pretenders from the true heroes.
You're already dead. You just haven't caught up yet.
Shen, the Eye of Twilight. When doing research on this video, I was corrected by some Shen mains on how he should be described. I thought that Warden was sufficient, but apparently he's better described as an energy-based, backbone, split-pushing, tanky, health chunkerizing, damage negating, aggro peeling, teleporting, tower diving badass. Huh. Well, when you put it that way, you're right. Warden doesn't sound near as cool. A lot of people compare Galio and Shen because they both have ultimates that shield their allies and allow them to quickly get into the fight. While Galio's ultimate has a massive knockup, Shen's ultimate is better for reactive situations since it actually has a global range, and he can use it regardless of where he or his ally are on the map. When combined with teleport, this gives Shen unparalleled ability to assist his allies while not sacrificing his tower. And while Galio is great against AP champions, Shen really shines against AD champions, especially auto-attack based champions, thanks to his W. Shen also has a surprising amount of dueling power. His empowered auto attacks freaking hurt, and he can negate a massive amount of damage with his shields and his W. It's near impossible to tower dive him or harass him under tower because of his E, and his E also gives him a great way to initiate fights or escape from them. And while he lacks good innate wave clear, he can usually mitigate this weakness by building Tiamat and Balmy Cinder. Shen is an extremely subtle champion, but these subtleties are what separates a good Shen from a bad one. Bad Shens will usually blow all of their abilities in a combo, while good Shens will try to maximize the uptime of their passive shield, taunt enemies in directions that are favorable to Shen, and save their W to negate empowered auto attacks from the enemy. How Shen positions and when he uses his W will often determine whether he wins or loses a duel. Shen gains a ton more bonus damage and increased attack speed if his Q passes through an opponent, and his Q also slows his opponent while simultaneously activating his passive shield and reducing his passive's cooldown. Consistently getting your Q to pass through an enemy is absolutely vital if you want to be effective with Shen. How and when you use your ultimate is also something that separates good Shens from bad ones. The shield provided by Shen's ultimate scales with the target's missing health, so it's better to ult low health targets than full health ones. However, if you ult too late, then enemies will just burst through your shield and kill your ally before you can complete your teleport. You also have to be extremely wary about using your ultimate near your lane opponent, because any form of hard crowd control will stop your channel and cause your team to be possibly baited into engaging on a bad fight. Every time you ult to save an ally, this also takes you away from your tower for a significant period of time, which can cost you dearly in terms of CS, experience, and lane pressure if you don't have teleport up. While you may want to save your allies, sometimes you have to fight that urge if you aren't going to gain a substantial team advantage from using your ultimate, especially if the wave is in a bad position. Shen's ultimate is on a 3-minute cooldown at rank 1, which is one of the longest cooldowns in the game. Using your ultimate at the wrong time is like wasting a summoner spell, and can cause you to lose lane or even the game. Ideally, you want to ult when your lane opponent isn't in lane, or when your lane is pushed enough that he can't counter push and take your tower. Also, it's usually better to ult to assist allies to taking objectives or to win fights, rather than trying to save someone who decided to face check a brush and is now trying to 1v5 the enemy. As far as weaknesses are concerned, he's really vulnerable to being kited, and apparently he's also very vulnerable to kicks to the groin and women with Russian accents. I can't really dispute the accents part because I haven't tried a seductive Russian voice on Shen before, but I highly doubt that someone who has an armored mask protecting his jaw wouldn't also have something sturdy protecting his third sword, if you know what I mean. Shen is great for people who like split pushing and dueling but also want to be able to join their team for clutch plays. One Shen main described him as a very tanky version of Jax or Fiora. If this versatility is appealing to you, then you should definitely check out Shen. So which of these Wardens is your favorite? Also, what kind of Wardens do you think that Riot should develop in the future? Once again, if you have any questions on any of the Wardens, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it or point you in the right direction. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, please give this video a thumbs up and let me know which subclass you want me to do next. And of course, if you made it this far in the video and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all of my videos. I hope you all have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium, signing off.